There are no actions as a result of non-public. I'm going to open up for public comment. Yes.
Donna Vayu, could you just explain to me why this special meeting has been called?
Yes.
Thank you.
So there was a lot of comments made at the public hearing on our budget, and then there was discussion at the budget committee meeting the following night. The following night, or was it a week later? At the budget committee meeting, and the board said that we would consider the concerns. Next week is the deliberative session, and we meet prior to that for just under an hour. So didn't feel that it would give us enough time to do that in that time frame. So I wanted to open up and have a special meeting, which is what this is, to have any discussion so the board can discuss those concerns.
Well, thank you.
And then the people could hear it, budget committee could make informed decisions, and as well as the rest of the community. Any other public comments?
Parsons, I don't have to come up to the mic, right?
No, ma'am.
I just want to clarify because I asked a lot of questions at the budget hearing. And I know people probably think I'm on a revenge tour. So I just want to clarify, yes, I was a former employee. I am a taxpayer now. I am advocating for my rights as a taxpayer. I do not have any ill will. I do not mean anyone to lose their job because of anything that happened to me. I have moved on. My questions were strictly asking budgetary questions. I have experience in the educational system of 29 years, so I know what questions to ask. And I would just say that I am not advocating for any specific cuts here. I do think the budget can have cuts in them. I think it's your job to decide where and when those should happen. My questions were to get clarification and hope that you could explain, if you considered those cuts, why you weren't making them, and if you didn't consider those cuts, why not? That's what I was hoping to get by asking those questions. So there is no vendetta. I try to pride myself on the fact that I act with integrity, and I don't mean anybody ill will here. I just want my tax dollars to be used in a way that I think is giving the best education to the community. So that's what I just wanted to clarify. And thank you for having this meeting.
Others? Okay. So I'm going to leave the public comment. Oh, Nicole.
I did have one thing, I just got distracted by a piece of paper.
Thank you, Nicole.
Nicole Norland, I just want to reiterate that I have put in a request, and I'm requesting again 2 pieces of information in the annual report. The cost per pupil after it's all said and done, based on the number of K through 12, to be somewhere noted in there what the budget does for that cost per pupil, and the number of Madison residents, alternatively schools, K through 12, because it used to be included in every year's report, and I'd like to see that number. Thanks.
Cost per pupil. Okay. And
Basically, there's 200 kids, and the
Yep.
budget's 8 million. 8 million divided by 200. What's the cost per pupil? I think that's very helpful for people. Thank you.
okay. Other comments? Okay.
Is that how a budget works? I'm asking. I don't know.
So
In regards,
I'm gonna.
The cost per student.
Yep, no, I understand what's being asked. I'm trying to stay procedurally in the line which we've taken as public comments, but then I will have the superintendent address things when we get into discussion. So as for now, I will take that as a comment.
Yeah.
Okay. Other comments? Seeing none, I'm going to move on. Approval of the agenda. Wow. Seems a little in the wrong place, but that's okay. Take a motion to approve the agenda.
What about here?
Motion.
Action or is that?
There was no action. I actually said that earlier. Yeah, because we didn't take any action. So.
All right.
Okay.
Jeremy made a motion.
Motion by Jeremy. Can I get a second to approve the agenda by Ed? Any additions or deletions? Seeing none. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye, aye. Jeremy?
Aye.
Good, okay. Budget discussion. So, a lot of conversation happened, a lot of comments happened at our last public hearing. Wanted just to open up and see what the board's take on it was, what questions the board may have of the administration, what information we can flow out to the public.
Can I make a request?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adjust the non-CBA to 8911, so it mirrors the teacher's contract.
Excuse me.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to adjust the non-CBA health benefits to 89 and 11, so it mirrors what the CBA currently gets in terms of health benefits.
So to
The
match
percentages
current.
to match current.
Is that something that we can do?
It's
Or
board
is that-
policy. That's what you're asking, if you can change the board
You're asking
policy.
to change board policy.
You wrote that policy so you could review it annually.
So it's in a board policy what the
You,
share is?
I don't think it's,
Yes, it is.
if it is, I know one of the caveats we had in that policy was you could review that policy annually and changes could be made, so.
Right.
That's part of
So-
the process anyways.
So can we tentatively adjust it and bring the policy to the next meeting?
We could do that. So we could bring that to the next meeting. Can you tell me, yep, I mean, tell Heather about what number would
It's
that look
not-
like?
it's not a ton.
It's not. No, I know.
She did work it up for me.
Oh, shit, okay. Okay.
Comments still open?
Public comments will still be open, yes.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
My comment is, I know there's discussion about making it even across the board, non-CBA and CBA. Let's make sure all the other percentages, raises included, go across the board as well.
Thank you. So, was that a motion?
The motion was on the health insurance.
Motion to adjust the health insurance of the non-CBA from 90-10 to 89-11, I believe that's where it's at right now.
Yes.
And in that same motion would be to bring the policy to our next meeting.
Could I amend the motion to say that it mirrors the current year CBA percentages for health insurance? Because if we have a different change in policy,
Yep.
year to year, we don't have to change this
Yeah.
each time.
Yeah, could I make a recommendation?
Yes.
What I would recommend is based on the way the policy is written, because it says you will review it, I would review the policy first, bring that to the meeting and change it then. I wouldn't put the rate before you change the policy. You need to review the policy first and make the change, as opposed to just making the change. Does that make sense?
To me, to Ed.
Yeah, I don't like it, but it makes sense.
But we could bring the
The
policy.
intent can still be the same, but we need to just follow that procedure. We can bring the policy to the next meeting and make that change.
Okay.
Would we still want to keep that as a motion, to bring the policy to the next meeting?
Yes.
And make the change?
Yep.
Can I get a second to that? Second by Sherry. Discussion related to that. Jeremy, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Sarah?
No.
I have nothing. Any other comments? All in favor? I will bring it to the next meeting. Jeremy, all in favor Any opposed? Or abstaining? Abstaining or opposed?
Yes, sir. Abstain.
Thank you.
No delay.
Okay. Other budget discussion. So, I know there's been some discussion about 5, 6. We have 3 teachers up there right now. Is there a potential of a cut? I know there's been some discussion at the board level. The administration's worked on this. Heather, do you want to talk to why the recommendation is the way it is and for what rationale?
Sure, and you will have seen in your board packet that was distributed today that we have added 2 students in 5th grade in the past couple of weeks, and we have 1 more 5th grade student, believe it or not, that is signing up. His family called on Friday to request a packet. We had a recent move in residence, so that brings you to 29 and 11, which is 40 kids in 5, 6. Even before then, the reason why I have requested that we do 3, 5, 6 classrooms is because we look at numbers as one part of our decision, but we also look at the factors of who the kids are, what their needs are, dynamics in the classroom, how they function, and what can we best do for these students. This particular group next year's 5, 6 will have been the grades 1, 2 when we came back from COVID shutdown. So they have had the most difficult transition, I would argue, for them. And so for me, it's about giving them the best opportunity for this last year before they go to middle school. It is a large group, and I feel like we can best meet their needs to do it that way. I've been very public with my staff and with the board about after that bubble goes that we would reduce another teacher. We already have reduced a 3-4 teacher. That is in this year's budget that we're operating with. We went from 3-4 teachers down to 2 because of that bubble. They moved out. So I feel like I've been open about why, but if you have specific questions in regards to that, it's also a matter of thinking right now in January, we're budgeting for 18 months. So with the numbers that we have right now, we always do it like, what do we have for information now? That gives you 4 kids wiggle room before we, then go over your policy. And your policy is what your cap is, and you're looking for optimal. But if you want my recommendation of what is best for kids, I believe that this last year for them to have 3 classrooms and 3 teachers is the best for kids.
Questions?
I do have a question, not in regards to that. I have a question in regards to paras. Clearly, we have more paras here than our neighboring schools, and I'm just curious if you could give us insight
Not sure
on.
that's true. Pretty sure Tamworth has quite a few.
Well, Tamara's a much bigger school.
Not significantly, but anyways, so our paras, what we have right now this year in place, we have 5.7 is what we have supporting K through 6. We have in our budget, the other pairs are supporting the ECE. Those pairs won't be in our budget for next year, that's not there. It's just in a different spot so that we're not raising and appropriating the money to pay for that. So the 7 that is in there, plus the charter school, the 7 for us, Lisa had mentioned at last, the meeting that we have 90 plus hours of para support time per week. So when you look at how paras can be used, it most often is to support academic work, and then it's trying to schedule them in to when there's academic time that they're not being pulled for a special ed service. So it's a lot of juggling and putting pieces together. So it's not as easy as, well, you have 90 hours, split it by 5 paras or 6 hours or whatever, and you've got this. It's not a magic thing. So we do try to work with what we have for information. I know recently we cut para time down for 2 students, but I know we have 2 students that are in referral right now that we anticipate having para time. It's always a moving target. Currently, the way that paras are used in our K2 classrooms, each K2 classroom has a dedicated para. They do IEP needs first, and then they do RTI second. So we try to maximize the time that we have with paras. If in grades 3 through 6, they are used only for IEP needs, but sometimes there may be a scheduling where it's like, hey, they've got half an hour they can do some RTI. So we're always meeting our IEP needs first, and then we're doing RTI second. I will say, in K2, we just had an IEP meeting on a student recently, and we said, let's not put para support in because the student is accessing the para the same way as everybody else. It's a universal support. If we did not staff our classrooms in the K2 that way, we would have more para support in IEPs because there are kids that need that support, so they're accessing it. The hope is, the goal is that we are providing that intensive support there in the K2 so that when they go upstairs, there's less of a need. And that's what we're seeking. In regards to, yes, it's more paras than what we currently have. We have a lot more students and we have higher need. We've had a few students move in this year that have more significant need than what we've had previously. So it does ebb and flow. Some years we've had 5 pairs, some years 7. There was a year we needed 2 and we couldn't staff them. We used to have RTI pairs, just full-time RTI pairs. We no longer do that. So we're doing our best to use staff the most effective way to support kids. Does that
I guess
answer?
that brings me to my second point. If K through 2's requiring paras in each class, why don't we go straight grade for K through 2? I think academically it's beneficial for them. We retain a teacher.
So it's a fair question. I would obviously disagree that K2 I do feel like is beneficial. We've had straight K and for years, and what we found a few years ago before we went with the K2 program is that it's very hard in K when you have kids coming from all different backgrounds, all different environments, to be in one room together. There's no the rest of our building has this opportunity for us to divide students up, to make groupings based on what works best for kids, whether it's their learning styles, matching with a teacher, social dynamics between them, all of those things. We give them choice. They have options. If you go straight grade, you have no option. So for us, that's a big one. And also it gives, the last time we had a straight K, we had so many significant issues that the goal of splitting it up and having multiple options for kindergarten, it lessened those issues. And I will say this year is another example. If we'd had a straight K, I would say it would have been a nightmare having all those K kids. That last year that we had straight K, the teacher said she did not get to the academic instruction in the timeline that she typically does. She was starting stuff in January that she typically would have done in November. Everything got pushed back because you spend so much time just dealing with either behavior or the needs for kids because it's a social emotional, new learning environment, adjusting. When you go with multi-age, you have that ability to split kids up. You have the ability to absorb them into different environments and with other kids that you partner them up with. And, it just works. It creates a family, and that's our goal. Start working as a family. So
I have a comment still.
I just want to, Linda Hager, I just want to say that I worked in this school for 28 years. We were never multi-age until Heather was here.
Let's
what?
not be specific with names of staff,
We
please.
weren't multi-age, how many?
At that point, we weren't multi-age.
At that point, a long time ago, we weren't multi-age. I did work in this building when we were. I have nothing against multi-age. I feel that, I do feel that academic standards can be met more effectively in a straight grade. And I just want to say the whole thing, and I'm not here to talk about multi-age or straight grades. I wanted to address the issue about if you have a straight kindergarten, you can't, you don't have like a community. We used to share, it depends on how you think out of the box. Just because those kindergartners are in that one room doesn't mean you can't share and do activities with older kids. It's all how you work it. So I don't think that's the reason for keeping, for not pursuing perhaps Sherry's idea. And the other question is, for kindergarten, wouldn't your cap still be the same? Wouldn't you still have the same number of kindergartners in a straight kindergarten as you would for the, I don't know what your caps are for the multi-A, I can't remember. But like, why would it have been a nightmare to have them all in one room? I don't understand that.
So, thank you. Ron?
I'm Kathy Briggs, I'm the therapist that works in the school, and those kindergarten classroom, that kindergarten children were insane. Kids were active, they were abusive, they were swearing, and that was sort of across the board, because I work in several of the local schools, and it was just a mess. And many of them are now doing multi-aged, and amazing, the kids who did not engage in all of this sort of negative behavior are much better off, and they're not getting involved in it at all. The older kids are now also helping the kids that are younger and have whatever emotions or whatever's going on. And I thoroughly, when I was going into that kindergarten classroom, I hoped that I could get out without either someone hurting me or swearing at me. And they're young, so when you say a nice word, and it's not gonna work. And I think that's true across all of the education, and I am in 4 of the elementary schools in this area that are all doing K through 2s. And it's been a world of difference, for all the ages. And the kids that were crazy in kindergarten a couple of years, a year ago, are no longer as out of control, which means the class can go, you can go into those classes and actually see how they're all working together, rather than trying to run around after someone or whatever. So I would definitely support keeping the multi-ages.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
sorry, I didn't mean to start this big, like, but here's the thing is, I'm gonna step outside of being on the board right now, and as a parent that has had 2 kids come through this school, one is going to be graduating, I 100% see how it has failed my child, because my child has always been at the lower end and pushed through school, pushed through class, always at the lower end. And then I think about the kids that are at the higher end that are making up for that and kind of teaching, you know, those other ones. And I also think behaviorally, I saw my son's, you know, 5th, 6th grade class, the 6th graders were out of control. He was learning things, he was hearing things. You know, these kids sometimes like don't learn to be age appropriate together because they're so split apart. So that's just all I'm going to say as a parent, in my beliefs in that dynamic.
And I think if you look at specific kids, yeah, there were some kids that just struggle more than others, and hopefully all the other services in the school are gonna help those kids that are struggling. So if they're slow.
I'm gonna go to the back here.
Ann Bartlett. Just for clarification, we have 7 paras listed, but you alluded to that 2 of them were in the early childhood. Is that correct? So out of the 7, 2 cover the early childhood?
On the,
I mean, that's what Heather said.
Mhm.
If that's the
So-
case, why aren't they in the SAU 13 budget? No, sorry.
No, I'm laughing because that,
Okay, but can I just clarify, this year, the budget has 2 paras and are 1.7 that are supporting the EC. That's not reflected in the budget that we're talking about now. So that's what's happening this year, is Madison paras are working in the ECE. But in the budget, we're only budgeting for support for our building or for the charter school.
so the SAU contracts with Madison for those ECE positions.
So you have 7 paraprofessionals this year, and some of them are working in the early childhood, contracted. And you have 7 for next year, and they will only be doing Madison Elementary?
No, I think this budget's right.
Like,
And the charter.
hold on. So there's 1 for the charter school. I need to get some numbers.
There's 8 pairs in the budget for next
There
year.
are 8 in
One
the
is
budget
for
for
the
next
charter
year,
school,
1 for the charter school, 7 for the
so that
elementary
means
school.
7 in this building and 1 at the charter?
1 at the charter school,
Okay.
correct.
So,
I just wanted to apologize for contributing to getting off topic as far as the multi-age conversation, because when I raised my hand, it was about the paraprofessionals and trying to figure out how many there are. So I just need to hear you say again, not counting the preschool program.
The early childhood.
Early childhood.
Yep.
How many are budgeted for?
Budgeted for in the school 7.
So you are, like, so,
Yes.
why don't I not understand that? So you,
Because they're confusing you.
no, I mean, you
Does that
have,
mean you're adding 2 paraprofessionals next year is the question?
So
so you have 7, but 2 of them are, next year are gonna be out of the SAU 13 budget, because they're gonna be in the early childhood. Is that correct?
So
If the SAU budget passes, there's an additional paraprofessional, so there would be 2 that SAU 13 would contract with MEA for
Okay.
to provide those services.
so one.
Then how many would be K through 6? I mean, no, yes, K through 6.
One, if you go back 1 year's budget, last year we still had an open position, an open para position that was not filled. This year, we filled that para position, and correct me if I'm wrong, somebody. We filled that para position, but then utilized it for the preschool, even though it was budgeted last year for the elementary school, not for the preschool. So we reallocated it to the preschool, which is why it's still sitting in the budget here.
Okay. I guess my question is, how many people are going to be in position here in this building in September in grades K through 6?
So 7, 7 and 1 at the preschool, and one at the charter school.
So it is 7 in K through 6,
Correct.
which is not involved in the SAU 13 budget at all.
That is correct as well.
True.
So I'm just, so we heard 5.7, what?
That was this year, that's this year.
Be- and you did, because, like I said, we had an open position last year that was never filled. When we were advertising for the preschool position, we had, at the SAU level, we had no candidates.
Correct.
Madison reallocated and sold one of those paras because we were able to hire another para to the preschool, and .5.
Well, we have one full one, and because of, so this is where it gets a little bit crazy with scheduling, and so when kids in needs change, so we were able to move one full-time one and then a .7 position into the, I think it's .7, .6, into the ECE, so that person is splitting time between the ECE and the school. What I will say is when we write our contracts, we write them based, with a little caveat now that says that it's based on need. So we won't, in good faith, hire somebody just because we have positions in our budget. We will be assessing where are we at, and then what do we need. And so it may be that we don't fill one of those positions because we don't need it. The special ed is constantly changing, so you have this ebb and flow. But with 30 students, when we typically run 20, the needs are different. And again, some of our needs are more severe than we've had in a couple of years. So
I'm gonna, if anybody else has questions, I'm gonna ask a question related to the charter school paraprofessional. Technically, the charter school is not in our district. That would be for special ed services, correct, for a charter school student. Can that not be, come out of our, rather than our staff line, out of district line? And/or possibly apply for grant funding to cover that student not being in a, so we could actually, can we actually take this out of our budget and try to find alternative funding for that position that's not in our school?
It's a new expense, we could utilize IDEA.
IDEA. Right.
How much would that one save me? throwing numbers out, but
I would say it depends on whether we're able to hire somebody in person or if we have to go through a third party.
A service, right? Good point.
but budget-wise, how much would it save me? If I were to take it out of my budget,
About 74,000.
We can't hear you.
I'm sorry,
What was the number?
about 74,000. So, and my question, could you hear me?
We heard the question, just.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Okay,
We
all right.
can't hear anybody else.
All right. Thoughts on that?
Isn't that much?
I have a, Jim, can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
If you take, I know you have said that it's difficult to
$74,000.
find paras. Not that I agree with
Is there
you having
$74,000?
7 paras here. And I totally support paras for special ed, so maybe there is the need for that many. So if you did, and you said it's difficult to get paras, so if you did take it out of your budget and did it by grant, wouldn't that affect the benefits they're gonna get, so it would be harder to find somebody to fill that position?
Well, not necessarily fill it by, it'd be more buying the services from either a company who would provide it. So, and
IDA would reimburse us, they'd pay us at the back end. We'd have to come up with upfront, but we could leverage it, and it's not a sure thing. We would put in for it, but if you want to move it to,
and I'm not trying to mitigate correct salary and benefits to get around it. I'm
Find someone if you need them.
really more looking of, if we only needed let's say an IEP drives for a half day, or a little more than a half day. That's all we'd have to purchase from a company. Whereas if we had to hire it full day, we have to pay all these extra things to get the person there, and what do we do with them when they're there? If the kid doesn't show up that day, we're on the hook. So if it's a contracted service that we utilize, because it's not in our building, where I can't say, Jim's not in today, just sit there and do nothing all day. Can you go help with this or go help with that? Can we move them around to do other things that day? I'm just trying to think of, rather than in a salary and benefits line, we put it into a contracted services, where we have money for out of district services already. Can we try to make that fit within there, and or because it's new, utilize grant funding to do so?
I have another question regarding paras, and I apologize, I should know this, but I've been out of the business for several years now. I remember all of the paras that worked with me, they needed time to go and do their Medicaid. They needed to fill out their hours because I had put them on an IEP. So when that Medicaid money comes into you guys, what do you do with it?
It's booked as revenue. It has decreased incredibly in the last couple of years, and I expect that to only continue. State of New Hampshire was audited and has to revamp completely how it is billed, and it is going to be an inordinate amount of work to bill Medicaid moving forward.
Okay, so it's not ever gonna offset anything?
At best, there was 20,000, I think, in the best years here. You don't know who has Medicaid, so you do that input for every student, and it's a very nominal return on what comes back. It's not to say that we will stop it, but there's a lot of hurdles in the coming year.
So are you saying for the charter school?
I'm saying, do we cut this $74,000 out of our operating budget?
And what's the downfall for?
We need all of it and don't have it in the budget.
Right. If we were to get to a point where we needed more, what could we do, or would we do? If grant funding does not, if IDEA does not pick it up in a grant, where would we fund that from?
And if it's a grant, they're still eligible for their benefits and all of that,
It
or?
would.
If it's written that way and approved, yes.
I think that's risky at best.
No, I don't disagree, but I'm just trying to figure anything we can.
I have a question. Is the charter school paraprofessional currently a filled position, or is this a future need?
Currently filled.
So it is, and it's currently filled by a real person, or is it currently filled by a contracted service or something?
It's a real person who lives locally, but they're hired through a contracted service. We got nobody.
So they're hired through one of those services that are pulling
We apply for a grant, it's not a
No, but we've never billed against it.
because they're able to provide better benefits and then they're able, so that seems to be where a lot of these services are going, okay.
Is that why it's so, is that why it's
One,
75,000?
we can.
That's why it's high, or is that just how it
Just
is?
when
I budget and open, I typically will budget for family, and that's why it could be as low as 54.
If they're willing to do
Hi, Donna Vega, is it possible to share that specific personnel person with other schools that are sending their children to the charter school? Have a collaborative effort, one person with, say, Conway and Hammer?
I think it would all depend on how the IEP was written for said student.
Yes.
If I'm correct.
It's written as a one-to-one position. If it was written as a shared position, then yes, we could work with that and talk to them. And I'm in communication with the other school districts as
It
well,
can't be
trying to get
rewritten?
people.
Oh, the IEP?
Correct. So the team would have to make, that would be a team decision to decide what that looks like. And if the team decides based on the needs that it's a one-on-one position, then we would not be able to do that.
So if there's a charter school with 5 students requiring IEPs, there can't be one professional to,
They're individual.
So an IEP
education plans.
is
An individualized
individualized education
the
plan.
whole day?
So it's written, I'm gonna let these guys talk to it, because
So the paraprofessional position for this situation is written as a one-to-one position for the full day, for those.
For the full day.
So
Oh, I
that's
see.
why. So if it was written as 4 hours, you could
I see.
go back and forth. Yep.
So Donna, like when the team gets together.
Linda,
Oh, sorry.
address us, she can hear you.
Okay.
Thank
So,
you.
When the team gets together, at the team meeting to write the IEP, it's their job, and hopefully we take it seriously, to write that IEP with the child's best interest at heart. So if that child needs a one-on-one, that's what you're gonna write. If it could be shared, that would be great, but I don't know how you know that ahead. You really have to write what is best for
Oh, absolutely.
So I have a question about the 90 hours that you cited as paraprofessional. That is not one-on-one support, is that correct?
No, that's total hour support within Madison. That doesn't include
So you
charter
could
school.
group 3 kids together who need a half hour each in 1/2 hour and meet an hour and a half of IEP needs, is that correct?
In the school setting here?
Yes.
Yes. If it's written as a shared
I just
paraprofessional.
wanted to clarify that the 90 hours sounds like a lot, but if you're grouping children with similar needs and meeting in groups, that
Correct.
it's not
Multiple.
actually 90 hours.
Heather brought up a good point, though, and I wasn't really thinking of this. The paras are used for more than just because there are times we need help.
Sure. So we have been slowly decreasing our staff. So that means that we have less people to share the load. Part of it is, until this year, we haven't had great subs either. So our sub list has been minimal in trying to get people in, so pairs step up and do that if we need it. But we also have additional duties that not only pairs but other staff are covering. And we cut a food service position a few years back, but we really needed someone to help serve. But we didn't want to hire someone just for that serving time. It didn't make sense in the food service budget. So instead, it's a duty that is shared to help out with the kitchen. So we're trying to again maximize who we have for staff in as many ways as possible with whatever their skill sets are, and that goes across the board. For all of our staff. Everyone steps up, everyone's helping out, and we're just sharing that.
Carol Penza, Heather, just out of curiosity, when the paras sub for the teachers, do they get a pay differential?
There is a pay differential in the CBA. I believe it's $30 right now for the day.
Okay, thank you.
Deb.
And when paras are doing things like serving, are the pay that a server would get is equitable to the pay that the paraprofessional would get?
No, so any of those, they're just duties. So we've just put them as duties, no matter who it is, whether it's a teaching staff, paraprofessional, whoever is stepping in to help out.
But
So
I will say, they're all on the same salary schedule. So there's one schedule for hourly.
Teacher, because she just mentioned that teachers sometimes serves.
Okay,
So
I
we're
missed that, I'm sorry.
Paying a certified classroom teacher to serve lunch, which I don't think is a good use of.
Which would be during their lunch.
Which is
And-
a duty.
Right.
And you could also say that.
Me, address me.
Sorry,
Thank you,
could
or the board.
also say that you're cultivating a community where everybody matters, and to see people that are typically people in teaching positions doing a job of a server in the food service is actually
Trust me.
very
Thank you.
inspiring for children to see that their teachers do that, and those jobs are just as worthwhile, and for people to experience and see the children, see what they're eating, what have they had for lunch today, check in with them in a different environment, which is only a positive thing for the children of this school.
Yep, and I totally agree with it being a duty, that's not how it was presented. I'm just gonna say, and I do have a concern that these are coming up now. These questions were asked at the budget hearing, and I think these explanations are fabulous. And I personally, knowing that more students have moved into the 5th grade and knowing that that gap of 7 students has shrunk, I can understand not making a cut for a teacher. But I am discouraged that the board sat at a public hearing and was not able to answer these questions in the way they're being answered now. We're being made to be the bad guys because we're asking these questions. But these are questions you all could have answered at the last budget committee, and you, at the hearing, you did not.
No one's being made to be the bad guy. We're,
Well, you're not sitting in the audience here, you don't feel
okay,
higher.
so we're having a meeting so that we could address the concerns that came up at the public hearing, which ran till after 10 o'clock at night. You know, that was our time to go through the budget, and it lasted a long time, and there were a lot of things that came up. So it was, I believe, better for us to collectively go back and be able to present you all with the answers in which you were asking for then. And that's what we're trying to do here.
And I appreciate that.
And along with that, I'm going to ask a question of Mike and Heather Sherwood to answer, which was a comment that came up earlier, which was how cost per student is factored. I think I forgot about it. I wrote it right down.
Oh, is that Nicole? Yeah. So cost per student, basically, it's not a straight exercise in division. There are a few things that are backed out, one being food service, one being transportation. So when you look at an apples to apples across the state, it's because these costs are back out, right, wrong, or indifferent. That's how the state calculates it. So that's how we'll
Always done it.
Yep, and always done it. So that's how we'll present it in the budget. And Nicole, we do have those charter and homeschool already in the packet. I remembered from last year. So all right, we're good to go. You're welcome.
So, but there is, I mean, I don't know that I've seen the whole packet yet, but is there anything that breaks out cost per student as a number at the bottom? Like divides the budget out?
I think we still have time to get it in.
Yep.
There are some graphs online statewide.
Yeah, you can.
Right.
Now,
This,
but it's nice to bring that information to our local taxpayer.
so
because you can.
what's available from the state will be available for last year.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
why,
you're right.
so it's not, it wouldn't be,
So we will do our very best. I just looked over at Heather about seeing if we could get the last run in there, and I have a feeling she's already got the printing presses cranked up. So if we don't have those available, we will have that. We will do our very best to get that in there. If not, we will have that information available that night.
I will say, I do have to make some assumptions to do a cost per pupil for next year. I have to assume the number of students, so that's gonna be our best guess the day we do it.
I know it's give or take 8 students, 10 students.
And staffing, because staffing can change, the
Right.
numbers can change, so.
It's fair to say though that our cost per student is somewhere near 33,000? 34,000 almost?
The
According to the
last
DOE.
number on the DOE that I saw, I think it was 31 something.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe,
375.
okay. Yes,
Jim, Holly has something to say.
yes.
Is that really a cost per student from K through 12? Is there not a cost per student for
They
K
break
through
it out.
6?
No,
That's
elementary.
K6.
Is there a question, was it K through 12 cost per student?
It wasn't on there.
So K-12 you're not, because Conway is different than Madison. So, I mean, I would say the best document to probably look at is going to be the 7-year over, because that's going to give you, and again, I don't have finalized numbers on it as of yet, but it'll give you the number of students, and the cost breaks out high school, middle school, so you can look at how many high school kids and how many middle school kids. Obviously, those don't include the transportation costs, but also on the 7-year over that's in the going to be on there, it kind of gives you an idea of what things look like as a historical data. You know, the middle school over 7 years, we're down almost 32% of our students, and our budget there is up almost 24%. The high school down almost 31% of our students, and the budget's down about 12.37%. And then on our elementary school, we're down about 19.71, so call it 20% of our students. And if we calculate in special ed or take it out, which it's done both ways, with special ed in there, we're down about 9.36%. With it taken out, we're down about 19%. So it gives you an idea so that you can actually look at that number and say, okay, if I divide all my elementary school, and take the transportation and those things out of there, that's about what it looks like for the cost per student, but it's not going to be completely accurate to what the state says, which is?
Yeah, 33,750.
Well, one of the things I did was I looked at what the state average was, and it was only like, for this year, is 21,000 something, 21.5. But when you go around, and then I looked at like, what's Freedom, what's Bartlett, what's Tamworth, we're all kind of in line because we have so few students. Our costs are just enormous.
It's an economy of scale.
Because
Also
of
the
how
single
small
school
our
district.
communities are.
Yeah. So Heather makes a point. Go ahead.
So I've done a lot of research on this too. So because we are a single school district with a single building, and that's what you look at when you compare other school districts like that, there are several in New Hampshire, they all do end up with that similar rate, because what you have in Conway are bigger schools, they have multiple buildings and they can share staff, and so that shares costs, even if it's just groundskeeping and, you know, custodial, like there's such a savings there when they're bigger and they have more buildings. When you're a single school district with a single building, that it's, all of them are, it's just expensive, just nature of that beast.
Can I go backwards?
Sure.
Ask a question. So next year, given the size of your 4th grade and 5th grade class as they are right now.
4, 5, or 5, 6?
Well, it's 4,
okay,
5,
for 5,
5,
6.
6.
5 and 6 next year.
Thank you.
And you have 3 teachers. What's that class size? I'm sorry.
No, I have it written down somewhere. So it's 40 kids.
Yeah.
So,
13,
come on, Carol, you're the math person. 14, 14, 13, 13, 14, 13, 13.
2 13s
so-
and 14.
2 13s and a 14.
There you go.
Okay, so the state at 3.5 recommends classroom sizes of 30, with an optimum being 25.
No way. No.
I just don't
That's
think.
way.
according to the DOE.
Yeah.
Hold
that I
on.
was on tonight.
Dress me. Thank you. Yep.
That those were the figures that I was given, and you can look at those on the DOE site. And that's I was like, whoa, that's a lot.
Yep.
But then on the other hand, so what were the class sizes? 14. That's
Yeah.
still pretty low to me. But that's just my opinion.
Doug.
Ellen Caputo, I'm a 5-6 teacher. So I will speak to what it's like to have those classes. I have taught classes of 28 one grade. However, it's different when you have two separate grades because you have two different curricula that you have to cover. Plus you have the kids who are below level and the kids who are above level. It's almost like teaching 4 separate grades within one place. So being able to keep the numbers down is beneficial.
Thank you.
I'm Kate Staley. I'm a classroom teacher here. I teach 3-4 and have for 9 years. And I have had a class of 18 at multi-age, and I will tell you it was the most difficult year I've had here. Because meeting the needs of 18 children at 2 different grade levels, and again, really, like Ellen said, really at more than 2 different grade levels. Having the time to get to each one of my students in a day was near impossible. Having a class of 15 is much more manageable, which is what I have this year, so much more manageable.
Deb.
I currently teach a 4th grade, straight grade, in another district, and I have 21 students. And I do not have a classroom para. I do have a one-on-one para. That is how we work in this district, and it's very doable. So when I hear the concerns of the teachers in this building, it sounds like it's a multi-age concern, that when you get to spanning multiple grades, which I've experienced as well, I've taught a 4-5, and it is much more demanding and difficult as a teacher to meet the needs of students. You have a wide range in one grade, so when then you add another, and then in this district you add a third, that creates a lot of stress and a lot of demand on a teacher. And so I think Sherry's question about the thought of straight grade and multi-age, you build family regardless of what the makeup of your class is, whether it's straight or whether it's multi-age. And I think it's something to consider. I think if that is something that even staff is voicing is difficult, it's something to consider, that maybe straight grades is something to consider for the future.
Linda was.
I guess I was going to say something similar. If you remember, I came to your K-1-2 meeting when you were thinking of doing a K-1-2 and really spoke against it. Just because, again, I feel, and the way I said the same thing, you're looking at 5, you're looking at pre-K, K, 1, 2, 3, needing to know all those developmental levels, all of the standards for if that child is in 2nd grade, you have to be at a 4th grade level, and then the kids that don't know their letters. I was very lucky when I was here that I was a special ed teacher. You have to know all of that because you're teaching from pre-K to 7 or 8 level or whatever. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do it all at once like these classroom teachers do. And I understand that they have embraced the multi-age, and a lot of places do. I just feel when we've got 110 students here, and we're having to keep our class sizes to a certain level because it's hard because you've got multi-grades, we could maybe save money by doing straight grades. It would not, from the research I've done, impede the academic success. I think it would improve the academic success when you look at scores and over the long term. So I just wanted to reiterate that, and I promise I won't say it again.
So I just want to clarify that I am not unhappy with multi-age at all. That was not my point. I actually would rather, I would not teach any other way. I do believe that it does work. Excuse me, yes I have, but okay. I do believe that it does work, and the relationships that we are able to build with children over 2 years or 3 years are can be at times lifelong, and so there are huge benefits to it. And I feel like we are able to meet the academic needs of our students here, and it is being proven through our task force. Yeah.
Cool.
It's just coming to me based on this discussion, since it's a budget hearing. Are we doing a cost analysis based on multi and straight grades? Is that part of the board's, when they look at it, say if we go back to straight grades, we can reduce the budget by this much? Cause it seems like it would just be part of the homework on the budget itself. Because my parent hat, I'm not a fan of multi-age, but I'm married to a longtime school teacher, and he was a big fan of looping, speaking to Miss Stanley's, getting to know, he loved having his children for 2 years, go all of third and then all of fourth. But that being said, I was wondering if the cost analysis has been done by looking at the policy on class max. And if you had that many teachers based on it, if you got closer to it, what does the budget look like? Has it been done? Has it been figured?
I don't believe the class sizes would change simply based on the census we have right now. You'd still have four or five teachers based on the bubble in 5th grade.
Oh, okay.
You would actually have to increase, you'd have to add 2 teachers, if you went straight grades.
I wasn't doing the math that fast, I was just curious.
Why would we have to add 2 teachers?
Because your 1st grade is currently at 18, 18 is your cap, so you wouldn't want to start a year at 18. We typically don't start a year without any wiggle room. You have 3rd grade is 19, your cap is 20, and your 5th grade is at 29, so that cap is 22. So you would look at least adding 2.
Yeah, this is me personally, I would adjust the cap for a couple of kids.
Ellen?
Can I ask a budget question? What percent is the budget up?
It's less than 2.
Yeah, it was
1.74?
Well, what, are we looking at just the elementary school budget?
So that's my.
Just the elementary school budget?
Because we talk about this, but we can't touch the percent that's up for SAU 9.
Correct.
So what percent are we?
1.697,
Thank you.
correct? Right, that was the number that you.
2.23.
Hold on, let's let
Okay.
Heather answer the question.
The budget is at the public hearing for the general fund, so not counting food service. It does have Conway tuition in it. It does have our special ed budget with our out-of-district placements. It's up 2.23%, which is $155,428.
But if you take out the Conway,
I can't take it out. If I with the food service part in there, because I do have to appropriate it, it's up 2.44. Food service does bring in revenue, and I have
Right.
estimates for that.
And so if you factor the $118,000 of increase in Conway to that, it does take the elementary school's overall percentage of increase down to, what was it, 1.6? Call it 1.7, 1.775.
I just get concerned because I'm a taxpayer in this town. I've been here since 1995 and I get it. However, the impact on this school by trying to reduce these things to make up for an increase that we have no control over is much greater because we have many fewer students that it impacts.
I guess what I'm going to ask of the board, because I had several paras when I worked here, and when I would send them into a classroom, they could group. And I don't remember, but on the IPs, there's like a drop down where when you put the para in, it's either there's one-on-one and then there's individual or there's group. And if you put it in as group, that para, when they went into that classroom, could work with several of those kids and drill all their flashcards or do their math or whatever. So could you look at your people and the hours and see, is there any way you can eliminate a para just to save some money?
So I will ask the question
We can absolutely look at the numbers.
based on the
Yep.
information
Yep.
that we've had.
I will say,
Computers, nice.
we spend an enormous amount of time looking at the schedules with a fine-tooth comb to see how we can group students and how we can be creative and think outside the box, which I think is something that as a staff here we do phenomenally.
you know, we do group students, and we do meet kids' needs based on what their IEPs say, and we are thoughtful about it. So that is something that we currently do, so.
Jim, how do we move forward with making these types of, since this is my first time,
Yep.
you know.
So we could, a motion could be made here to change the budget by reducing by 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you, or making a theoretical change or a conceptual change.
So can I make a motion?
You sure can.
So based off of my homework, because I do my homework, and based off of Heather's answers to me, and the reality of walking into this school and seeing the needs of the kids and the things that the paras do, you know, above and beyond, I would just like to motion that we leave the para positions alone at this point. I think there's a need for them. I think they bring a great deal of value, and we get rid of a para, and what are we saving the taxpayer? A couple
So
pennies?
$74,000 equals to, it's, right.
So we're going to cut a position that would benefit our kids to save a couple of pennies.
Correct.
So my motion is that we just move on.
Okay. I like that. So, doesn't even need to be a motion, but we could move on. What's that? Nope.
Jeremy's here. He's
Jeremy seconds that? All right.
Can I second that, please?
All right, so Jeremy seconds that.
So we're just moving on?
So, just basically to move on, not to cut the para position. Motion and a second. Any other discussion related to that? And I had 2 people that had hands up that I want to allow to speak. If it's related to this, I'm going to allow you to speak. I've got one in the back over here, and then over here, if that's okay.
Yeah, so I wasn't at the last meeting, so I am just curious, what's the number that you're trying to meet? What's the amount, the dollar amount that you have to go down?
There's no specific dollar amount to go down.
So you can choose how much it goes down or goes up?
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, we listen to concerns. The things that we're talking about here, teachers, paras were the major things that were addressed. So we're just trying to kind of get all that information together to make a decision as to if we are going to make a recommendation to cut or not.
Thank you.
Yep, and then.
I completely agree. Paras could go to Cranmore or Attitash and make far more money than they're making here. Yeah, they could work anywhere else. And the fact that they're here making what they make, they want to be here. They want to help the kids. These are the people that we need with our children. Like this, what they're doing is, they make very small amounts, and fighting over one para is ridiculous, especially as of January 24th. The number of paras in every district around here that the position is not filled is staggering. I came from SAU 9 and dealt with para positions not being filled, and it was devastating to the students. The students were not supported. They were not able, the teachers weren't able to teach. Like it was said earlier, she should have been in January and she was still in November with her lessons. Like the teachers aren't able to teach, they're mitigating behavior. It's just absolutely ridiculous. SAU 9 alone listed 7+ paras. 4 of those positions were multiple para listings at 4 different buildings. So that's more than 7 just in SAU 9 alone. If we get rid of one, the chance that we'll ever get them back is very limited.
Thank you.
I just have one question. I don't think cutting teachers or parents is a good idea because it affects kids. But looking at our budget, I want to know what the school board thinks. Where can we save money? Where is it in transportation? Is it waiting for our contract with Conway to be over? Is it? I mean, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
So,
on the school board?
I'll speak. Everybody else welcome to speak. So I think a couple of things. So we just started in the last year negotiating our contract with Conway for the middle and high school, and looking at all of our options for middle and high school for our students. Transportation, we're about to go out to bid for transportation again. It came up at the public hearing as well of, can we possibly reduce another bus route, or even, my thoughts were, is there a way to reduce by half a bus route, in some way, shape, or form? And the other big one that's come up at the budget committee meeting that Heather Sherwood has started working on, SAU 13-wide, which is health insurance. The cost of health insurance has greatly become a huge expense, and there's got to be a way we can find ways to cut that. Part of the collective bargaining agreement that they've talked about is some share back of the health insurance, but it's a work in progress. So I think the two big ones are the Conway contract for us and the health insurance. I think transportation might save us. One never knows. The price of diesel fuel drives that a lot of times, but I think those probably are two biggest drivers that we could work on. And like I said, currently working. I've sat with Mike and Sarah in many negotiation meetings already with Conway to really start getting that process rolling, to find a fair and equitable contract for all districts involved.
Jim, I also think revenue, like you haven't talked about revenue to offset.
Correct.
So go ahead.
Yeah. Revenue is changing the other way, though. The problem is the state revenues are going down. The adequacy numbers are going down. Madison's share of that is dropping year after year. And Medicaid reimbursement is
down.
It's down. State adequacy numbers are down.
Special ed aid is down.
Special ed aid is down.
Other local revenue is up.
Other local revenue is up. So that accounts for the early childhood and things like that. Is that correct?
Yeah. And
Preschool.
Freedom, the contract with Freedom for meal service and.
Right. So we sell some of our food service directors service to Freedom. It'd be, I don't think we have any other inter-district contracts right now.
Not currently.
But the revenues are changing, and the hard part is they're changing in the wrong direction. The majority of them, the big ones, are changing in the wrong direction. Yes.
I'd just like to say, I hear you all. I hear you up there, I hear you here, and we talk about everything changing. Our numbers go down, our scores go down, our price goes up. So help me understand how we're gonna work this out of the hole, I guess. I mean,
Talk to Edelbud.
right? I know, we don't get the revenues, I know, everybody's in the same boat, but I just, I'm trying to understand best education, and I'm 100% behind that, at a reasonable cost. And when things start to go like this way or that way, you need a balance. I haven't seen a balance from this board and this administration in years. That's my comment.
Sorry. Jenna.
Excuse me,
I almost said Sarah.
Jim, can we end the motion?
Yep. I can do that. Yeah. Sorry.
And then we can go back to discussing?
Yes.
Great.
So I have a motion and a second on the floor to end the discussion related to the cutting of a paraprofessional position. Seeing no more discussion, Jeremy, anything to add?
No, sir.
All in favor of stopping the conversation and moving on? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Or abstaining? Were you in favor?
I made the motion.
Okay, well, you can make a motion and still not be in favor. So, okay, so.
Do you have to do a roll call vote because he's remote?
Yes, we should do that.
Okay.
So, Jeremy?
Yes, sir.
Aye, nay? Are you in favor?
Aye. Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Aye.
Sherry?
Yes.
Ed?
Abstain.
And Jim abstaining. Moving on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, other budget? Yes.
So you said it could go up.
Mhm.
The teachers, well, the living wage in New Hampshire is about 58 grand a year.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a way to further support teachers? Can we actually make their wages bigger?
So, my easy answer to that question here and tonight is no. The teachers are covered by the collective bargaining agreement. So the collective bargaining agreement is a separate warrant article, which includes any increases for that position there. So those are individual, and we as this board couldn't change that number now if we wanted to, because that is ratified by both the union and the board, and then the vote that is on the ballot is the final vote to solidify it of the town.
In March.
In March, yes, ma'am. Yeah. We're gonna go to the back.
I just have, Carol Penrose, I just have a question. Has there been any thought given to, Mr. Superintendent, to consolidate schools inter-towns, like K3 and Freedom?
Sure. Well, SAU 13 is interesting. There's only one other SAU like it in the state, and the fact that we have 3 separate districts that the SAU works for, essentially. My philosophy as superintendent has been to really embrace shared services, starting with looking at what we've done with the Early Childhood Education Center. We were paying exorbitant prices all over the valley for our young ones, and then coming into an education system where they're coming in with diverse backgrounds from this philosophy, that philosophy. So Director Dubois has done a fantastic job getting that off the ground. We've also tried to open the door to conversations to provide options if there's a school choice option. I think school choice is really important, especially when we're in a position of a K6 or in Tamworth K8 district, where if you have a right fit and you want to go to middle school in Tamworth, hey, that's great. Maybe we can do some things like that. If you want to go to Moultonborough, that's great for you. I think parents should be able to vote with their feet. And that's something that we've really tried to embrace. So look for those opportunities for shared services, and use our capacity within our 3 districts better. We've talked about some of those shared services. We continue to look at that in our other districts. So it's difficult because we are 3 separate entities that love our autonomy, but we are really embracing the future. And I think if we're going to be sustainable, we really do need to continue to look at that. And I know the board has had some conversations at the joint board level about starting to do more of those, create more of those opportunities.
I wasn't specifically talking about school choice,
Sure.
more so like maybe kind of like Conway did.
Yep.
They put all their, I don't even know what it is, K3, K2, and the old Pine Tree.
Yep.
I'll never get the new names right.
Sure.
And so like if we were to look at like Freedom,
Sure.
Madison, and Tamworth.
Yes. I think everything's on the table. I think that's a long ride for some families. I think, and because of the autonomy and the way the districts are set up, I don't know if that would be the easiest way to go off the bat, but I think there's opportunities within a superintendent's agreement or district agreements that we could start having, parents that are interested in doing some things like that be an option. But I think we have to look at consolidated services. The university system has looked at that, and it's been really beneficial in looking at, whether it be oil contracts, food service contracts. Janet does a great job with that with Freedom. So we're doing some good things, but I think there's opportunities for more, and we're going to continue to investigate that.
There is some discussion about it in Bartlett and Jackson.
Yes.
About Jackson taking the little kids and Bartlett taking the older kids.
Absolutely.
And I think that forces shared services.
Yes, and we also, we're a sending school district, and I don't, because of negotiations, I don't want to get too far in the granular level, but we're open to being a receiving district too for other communities that this might be a great fit. I think this school has a great, it's your local community school, has a great hometown feel, and if that's the right environment for your student, we want to be able to work with some other districts that we could be a receiving district for, and look at other other revenue sources for.
So I'm going to take two last comments here.
Just-
One in the back,
I just
one in the
didn't know
front.
if you had thought about sending our sixth graders to the seventh and eighth grade over in Tamworth, as opposed to Conway.
No.
Have we talked about sending our sixth graders to?
Right, I mean, you know,
Tam-
you have to go to a junior high, correct? So,
No.
Right.
it's in our district,
We need to provide 7th and 8th grade education, yeah.
correct.
That's right.
So I'm
Sixth
just
graders.
Sixth grade.
Oh, sixth
She's
grade.
talking about sixth grade.
What?
So,
So they
so
would go for the seventh and eighth grade over there, and then you'd have to figure out high school.
Kind of like Jacksonville.
it's not completely out of the mix of part of what we're talking about in the overall negotiations of our middle and high school students.
Okay.
When it comes to consolidating, I've never understood why I know each district can negotiate their CBA, but when it comes to the health insurance, the more people, doesn't drive the cost down, why can't that fall under the SAU budget so that with more people, that's my one point. My other point is, because I know revenue's great, I think pay to play is the way to go. I think we should be paying for kindergarten, because I was always anti full-day kindergarten anyway. But whether the state pays us or the feds pay us, they don't have trees that grow money down there. That all comes out of our pockets, so it really is just a facade. If they're gonna cut what they pay to our school, they only have the money we give them. So, I just want to make that really clear.
I'm gonna go one, and we're gonna close public comments down. We've been pretty liberal with, so.
So, one of the benefits of being a small town is that we have people who care about the community, and I do get concerned about there being a general perception of us versus them. I was a parent here 17 years. I don't have children here anymore. Regardless of if I worked here, I would still want the school to do well. So I want us as a community, whether we work here, have kids here, or just show up as taxpayers, to represent us all very well. We are all in this future together, and these are all our children. And I get concerned about what I hear of the talk in the community, and I think we need to remember that these kids hear it too.
Can I just clarify the CBA piece so that it's a little clearer for this lovely lady over here?
Sure can, as long as you look this way.
I'm gonna look at you.
Thank you.
So just to clarify that there is a negotiating team
Mhm.
that meets together to come up with the proposed CBA. And this year, to clarify the point about teacher increases, 11 professional staff teachers, classroom teachers, teachers who hold certifications, 11 are taking only 3% because they're at the top of our pay scale. So it is not 6%, a 6% increase for professional staff. 11 professional staff have said will forego a larger raise. So I just want to clarify that. So.
Ron.
Yes, thank you, Jim. Ron Force here. Can I ask a question about a totally different topic?
Yes, please.
Has to do with the I don't know if you want to officially close out this discussion, but I have a couple of questions on the warrant articles that are in draft form.
Other than the operating budget? Other than the operating budget?
Yes, it's other than the operating budget.
Can I make a motion to close the budget discussion?
You can.
Yeah.
And I can take a second to that motion to close the budget discussion. Second by Sarah.
Sure.
Any other discussion related to the budget discussion? Jeremy, close the budget discussion, yes or no?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Jim? Yes. Okay.
Okay. When you close that discussion, that's for the operating budget.
That is the operating budget, correct.
Educational budget, okay. So this was brought up at the budget hearing, or the budget meeting. Article 5 states that there's a sentence in there that is incorrect, and I think you agree with it. It said, part of that discussion is, no amount to be raised from taxation. And you said you're going to bring that back to the board and see if you could reword that, because it's not current taxation or forthcoming taxation, but it is from taxation. So that statement as it
I can
stands
run it by legal.
is incorrect.
That is the recommendation from DRA. That is their standard language.
Right, but it's.
But you're looking to have the word
It's
current
misleading to the public.
added in there.
New
It's
taxation.
misleading to the public.
Or no additional
it's used.
taxation.
And
There's- yeah.
the attorney will be here at our deliberative session
Okay,
to address that.
okay, can we address that at that session?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
Okay.
whole-
And I will verify with the moderator that if the attorney says at that meeting, we can change that terminology in there. If not, maybe we'll have a discussion with Matt prior to and come into the meeting making a change as a board prior to.
Okay, that's true, Article 5 and Article 7. So those statements are in both of those two articles.
It's the ones to be raised
From the
Excess tax.
fund reserve,
Right.
fund balance.
unreserved fund balance.
Can we add a warrant article?
By petition.
The way, right.
No, we can't at this point. Add a warrant article?
Just saying we need a new gym
Oh,
floor.
yes,
You can bring that up at the session.
Um,
Put it in the
One other
budget.
quick related
Yes.
comment, if I may.
yes.
And that is, you talked about a budget increase, I believe you meant the operating budget of 1 point something% earlier tonight.
Yes.
Okay, if you add, correct me if I'm wrong, if you add all the school district warrant articles up, as presented in draft form,
Yes.
they exceed just over $8 million, which, according to my math, if it's correct, is about a 3.7% increase over last year's total budget.
Additional taxation. Heather? That's okay.
I have a total
You
of
won't do that again?
7,925,284 of the operating budget, SAU budget, CBA cost item, the building capital reserve, and the Madison Corner Schoolhouse as they're drafted.
And what, do you have a total percentage increase over last year's total warrant
I can
approved?
give you that.
And is that, I said, total approved warrant from last year to total approved warrant from this
Right,
year?
but maybe I have an older copy here, but I don't have the current copy
Mhm.
of what you're talking about.
3.15.
3.15.
Okay. Is that going to be posted on your website so we can look at that? Because
The-
obviously that's not in agreement with what I have.
Those numbers haven't, haven't changed since the public
Not
hearing, have
since the
they?
public hearing, no.
So,
I got this, I added them up. Now, that includes the items that you say are going to be taken out of your surplus.
correct.
Okay.
So those would not be included?
I did not include the surplus
I did,
items.
because
Okay.
it's still out of taxation.
We've already raised and appropriated
I-
it,
I
so it's not
understand. I
additional.
understand perfectly. But what I'm saying is, if you look at this year's total budget versus last year's total budget, you are spending money, even though it's raised from last year's taxation, with a warrant article that is going to be approved this year. So it is still part of the budget process in my mind.
Okay.
So that's why I added in those two article numbers, which is why we have a difference.
Did you include the article last year that was from fund balance?
Did you did
Yes.
include that
Yes,
one
I
last year
did.
as well? Okay.
Yes, I did. Yep.
Okay. So yes, then that would be an apples to apples comparison.
Right, and apples and apples. And I understand what your analysis, you have pears to pears, I have apples to apples. So.
As long as we all know where we stand.
It's not apples to
Um,
pears.
All right. Did every other question that you had sent to me that I sent off, did those get answered as
Do you
well?
have those numbers by any chance at any point?
Throw-
I can get them privately, email, whatever, it's fine.
I'll make sure I get it to you. I have to figure out what they are. They were,
Thank you.
it was just number of classroom teachers in
Number of
total.
classroom teachers and the costs, let's see, no, the numbers of students, K through 6, middle school and high school, for the last 3 years.
So that's going to be in the book. It's the last 7 years.
It's gonna be in the book?
Going to be on there.
Perfect.
Yes.
That's great.
And number of classroom teachers is 8.
Currently, it's 8, last year was 9.
Currently is 8, last year's 9.
Will that book be out before next Monday's meeting?
It was just about printed today.
Almost.
No, it should have been printed on Friday.
So yes, it should be available by the end of the week.
By the end of the week.
And we'll,
As soon as it's ready, we'll throw it up on our website, and I'll post on the Facebook, so at least you'll have a digital access to it, and then we'll be printing fast and furiously and make them available around town.
And we can get hard copies
So-
picking up here or at the library or
Yep.
something?
correct.
Here in the library, or in town office.
SAU office.
Okay. Others? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to, well, no, I will not.
There's still more on there.
There's some more. All right, moving on past budget discussion, Edward Granville Scholarship. We talked about this last month. I thought tonight was a good time to bring this forward. Mike did talk to the
Director Joe.
director at the Career and Tech Center. So in front of you, you have a draft of the potential scholarship. And to save me, because my voice is gone.
And this is
Want to read it?
This is the whole thing. Oh, thanks, Jim.
No problem.
So this is a draft of the Edward Granville Scholarship criteria. The Edward Granville Scholarship aims to honor the legacy of Edward Granville by supporting a graduating senior from Madison who demonstrates a passion for career technical education to celebrate Mr. Granville's profound passion for aviation. This scholarship prioritizes students pursuing fields related to aviation or similar technical disciplines. The following criteria will guide the selection process. Eligibility. 1, the applicant must be a graduating senior from Madison. Full transparency, I wrote this, so if we don't like any of it, I'm not sensitive to change it up. But do we want it to be a senior? Does it have to be a senior? That was a question I had.
Oh,
So it could be somebody who's in college currently,
Right.
or can apply for it again.
Right, that's what I wanted to,
That's fine.
I would like a graduating senior, I think.
okay. The applicant must have attended Madison Elementary School for at least 3 years.
And that was per the original.
That was
Yep.
the original document.
The applicant must be enrolled in or planning to attend a program at the Career and Technical Center. Mount Washington Valley. Yeah.
Must be currently enrolled in?
Or planning to attend a program.
Mm.
I kept this really broad, so you
Yeah.
tell, I'm not sensitive.
My only concern, somebody who comes from,
Okay,
right,
What's that, Jeremy?
I would say currently enrolled in.
okay.
Okay.
my only concern is me coming from electrical engineering, I never took a career tech necessarily. Granted, I'm older, there's
Sure.
all the NASA stuff they do there now.
And I don't know if some kids maybe can't get into that because it's like a certain
So-
cap at a certain number of kids that are allowed in each.
I wouldn't be opposed to taking that line.
Okay, take it out.
Yeah,
So
just
just
if,
those
it's
stuff.
just if you get someone more technical that's
Sounds great.
into the.
Less is more. So just those 2 criteria to start. Field of interest preference will be given to students pursuing a program or career related in aviation, fields aligned with technical skills in engineering, mechanics, transportation. Academic achievement, the student must demonstrate consistent academic performance with a focus on subjects relevant to their chosen field. I don't know if you want to make this more hard-lined with a GPA or...
I don't think so.
Okay. Career goals, applicants should articulate their career aspirations and how they align with the values of innovation, exploration, technical expertise embodied by Edward Granville. Essay submissions, applicants must submit 500 to 7-word essay.
507?
750.
I'm in.
500 to 750 word
Yep.
essay. Passions for aviation, a technical field, the scholarship will help them to achieve their goals, vision. So I just listed a few
Yeah.
bullets there for the essay. Recommendations, at least 1 letter of recommendation from a teacher, mentor, or industry professional.
Okay. Process.
Process committee will review applications on the above criteria. I don't know how granular you want me to get here, if you want the board to interview, who you want to interview, if it's someone at the CTE Center, how you want that to work or unfold.
That's the scholarship was.
The board. I
Board.
think the scholarship is written, the original document was written.
Okay, this will be.
You could have a school board committee,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that wouldn't be
yes,
everybody. You just read the.
And you'll review the applicants, we can do that.
Yeah.
Great.
It's fun.
I said the award amount will be determined on an annual basis, because we know that fund has limited, and we're working off the
That-
capital.
Right, we're working off
Interest,
of just the
rather.
interest only. So,
And then application deadline, and we can connect with Joe on that when those
Okay.
applications need to be in.
in the first year, I think Kathy had recommended that we do $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts on that?
I guess the only question is disbursement. Is it
I-
paid upon receipt of grades
I
or
can tell you what we
paid
do
on?
for the PTO ones. After the first semester, we ask for a copy of their transcript and then who to send a check to.
Okay.
And so we send it to the registrar's office, purser, whatever. So that's our process.
Sure. I can clean up those details. Again, this is a draft, so unless there was anything glaring that you want changed, but that, I can work with this and polish it up.
Take a motion to approve the draft, and we'll see it back next.
So edited?
So edited, thank you, by Ed. Second, Sarah. Any other discussion?
Jeremy said it's good.
It's good? So, all in favor? Jeremy? Sarah?
Yes.
Sherry? Ed? And Jim, yes. Okay,
I'll bring back a new copy for next month. I think it's on the agenda.
all right.
Can I ask about that? Is that
Yes.
just for post-graduation aviation, or does it, because the career, there's aviation program at the high school, it's very expensive to get your hours in, so I didn't know if it included that, and I know Madison kids.
That's a good
question.
Is it
In-
specific to post-graduation
Yes.
or can
Yeah.
high school kids?
Yes.
It was written as post-graduation in the.
That's what I wanted.
And that's what I had,
From the
a
trustee.
same question, if we wanted to do current students or graduating seniors.
Right, okay.
Okay. SB2, public hearing discussions. Anything to add related to SB2?
I think we're trying to select a date because
What? Oh.
the public hearing date is very
Oh,
prescriptive.
right. So dates, not discussion, dates.
Like, I have some info on it.
So, the warrant article to repeal SB2, put up by the school board, requires that we have a public hearing on just that article within 30, Heather, you've read
It's in
it.
between the
At least
deliberative
15
session
days
and
before
vote.
the ballot vote, no more than 30.
Got it. So it would be after the deliberative session, but before the vote.
Right.
Proposed dates?
Week of the 17th, which is vacation week, or
I
the
could be there, so I can't.
Tuesday, Wednesday before that, February 11th or February 12th.
So February
11th, I can be there.
11th or 12th?
I can't be there the 12th.
You can't be there the 12th.
Correct, I could be there the 11th, and I did
So-
some research on it per Donna's
The 11th is a Tuesday.
suggestion.
Sherry, does that work for you?
Yes.
Ed,
Right,
does that work for
I'll
you?
figure it out.
Jeremy, does that work for you?
As of right now, yes.
Okay, so then I would say we go for February 11th at 6 PM.
I'll be on an airplane on Wednesday.
Post it. Do we have enough to do a snow date of the 12th?
I'll be on an airplane on the 12th.
Sarah will be on an airplane as of the 12th. Yes.
February 11th, I believe, is a selectmen's public hearing that night
On their budget.
on their budget.
What time is that at?
I think it's 7. I believe it's 7
Oh,
o'clock.
read it.
boy, wouldn't this be nice to
Yeah.
do 6? Because it's here. Their public hearing is at the school.
Okay,
So we could do it,
6 o'clock, right?
okay, but I'm pretty sure it's 7 o'clock on the 11th is the public hearing by the town.
okay, so then why don't we shoot for 11th at 6 to be done by 7 for them, or even a little before. If theirs is 6, then I propose we move it back at that point to 5.
Certainly, very, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Okay.
Sorry, one question.
Yes, sir.
Did you say you're changing the hour for that meeting?
No, we're gonna do it, we're gonna push it for 6. If we find out that the town's public
It's 7.
the town's public hearing is at 7, so 6 o'clock is fine. I was just gonna say if the town was doing their public hearing earlier, we would do this earlier.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, Jim, it's in this room? Or you're gonna?
No, we'll do it right down, we'll do it right down in the gym where they're gonna be. Maybe we'll set up kinda off to the side, just so that as they get there and get ready, they can be set up, and, because they've already signed out the room ahead of us. Anything else?
The warrant articles, does that have to be an agreement that I can vote on those before?
Right. So Sherry's not gonna be able to be here the night of the deliberative session. The Madison Board has not voted on the warrant articles themselves to recommend or not recommend. So if we do that tonight, or can Sherry send us a written proposal of her recommendations?
If the board's comfortable, I think it'd be better to do it tonight, have you all do it tonight.
Okay.
It's not that late.
With that, right?
It's not that late. Okay. We can do that tonight then. Jeremy, you okay doing that this evening?
Are we prepared?
Yes.
for this? Really? Okay.
I think so. I mean,
Okay.
so I'm gonna jump into here. Oh, did I have a copy of the warrant?
It's in your board packet, I think.
This one?
Yeah.
That board.
Thank you.
Heather put that in there. The warrant is in the board
Yeah,
packet?
it should be in there.
So the
Okay.
board packets that you have should have the warrant.
Got it, page 27 of the, and I apologize, I was not prepared to do this, so it's not in the packet there. But, Article 2, shall the school district vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $7,284,200? Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $7,190,421.
I thought we were gonna talk about changing the wording though. Are we really prepared to do this right
We can discuss,
I would recommend, I would recommend as far as, are we talking about the wording for
Yeah, like
taxation? I would
right.
use the word additional taxation, no additional taxation.
now? I just don't really
Okay.
think that.
so,
That's what I've seen in the past.
so change that.
If we're talking about Article 5 and 7.
Yep.
Yes.
No additional taxation to be raised. It's already
Okay.
been raised, I think.
Okay, all right, so then we will alter those, and then I'll bring all this.
Are you
So-
going to alter them tonight or at deliberative? These are posted.
Right, if she's gonna.
I have
These are already
posted.
posted, right, so our recommendations, but then I will also talk to the moderator and find out to put them on the floor, or,
Can we meet again to have her sign, to go over this? Cause I don't,
well, we have between now and Monday,
when do you
basically.
meet?
Sunday.
Can you vote on the other ones at least?
We can.
But the,
You can vote,
I don't,
you can amend on the floor at
Right.
deliberative, and you can re-vote if for some reason the amendment changes something substantial in the
Substantial.
article.
but when we, okay.
Okay, that makes sense.
And if they are amended, when they go to the ballot, they read Article 2 as amended, Article 3 as amended, so that people will know that it is changed from when it was posted, and that it was amended at deliberative session.
Okay. All right. So I will take a motion to either recommend or not recommend Article 2. I'm actually going to go with, take a motion to recommend, and then all in favor of the recommendation would be in favor, opposed, or abstaining. So I will take a motion to recommend
I'll make the motion.
Article 2. I will take a second to that motion. Second by Sherry. Any other discussion related to that?
Is this for, I'm sorry, is this for the as written?
This is for as written, correct?
Okay.
So,
Do you have those in front of you, Jeremy?
I actually don't,
So you may need to read so he can, so
Okay,
that he knows what he's
so-
voting on.
so this is Article 2, which is the operating budget at $7,284,200.
Yeah, I got that.
Which, the default of $7,190,421. If you want, I can read the whole thing, but if not, I'm okay with that as well. Okay. So I have a motion and a second. What's that?
I said thank you.
Okay.
Maybe Sherry could zoom in.
So I have a motion and a second on the floor. So I will take,
Looking at these
in
forever.
favor,
I don't know why it's so stressful.
all in favor? So Jeremy,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And Jim, yes. So, in favor. Article 3, which is the SAU warrant article, which is a budget of $1,403,732, for which $442,499 is assigned to the budget of this district, with a default of $1,322,062, of which $414,053 is assigned to the school district of Madison. I will take a motion to recommend. Motion by Sarah, second by Sherry. Any other discussion? Seeing none. Jeremy, in favor?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And Jim, yes. Article 4, to see if the school district will vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between Madison School District and the Madison Employees Association, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing level. The 26 fiscal year of $123,585, the 27 year of $89,899, and the 2028 year of $990,236. And to further raise and appropriate the sum of $123,585 for the current fiscal year, such sum representing the additional costs attributed to the increase in salaries and benefits required by a new agreement over those that would be paid at the current staffing levels. I will take a motion to...
Can I get a clarification?
Yes.
That 123,000 would go on this year's budget?
That is correct. So that would be added to this year's total operating budget. And I answered that correctly?
Yes, the separate warrant article is right, but if it were to pass, it would be in the upper.
Right. Right, so basically that 123 is just the 26 year. But it's, the town is voting to approve the whole 3-year contract. But in this budget cycle is only voting to raise and appropriate the sum of 123,585.
I got you. Okay, thank you.
I will take a motion to approve. Motion by Sarah. Can I get a second? Sherry? Any other discussion? Seeing none. All in favor? Jeremy?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Sherry?
Aye.
Ed?
Abstain.
And Jim is abstaining as well. Article 5, to see if this, so I guess I'm going to say this just so that everybody here knows, I'm abstaining. My wife is a paraprofessional. She's covered by the collective bargaining agreement. So I am abstaining from that discussion.
Same with me.
Article 5, to see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of up to $10,000 to be placed in the, to be added to the Special Education Capital Reserve Fund previously established. This sum is to come from the June 30th unreserved fund balance available for transfer on July 1st. No amount to be raised from tax.
Additional.
No additional amount to be raised from taxation.
No amount to be raised from additional taxation.
No amount to be raised from additional taxation. The current balance of the special education as of June 30, 2024 is $219,415.41. I will take a motion to recommend. Motion by Ed, second by Sarah. Jeremy?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And Jim, yes. Article 6, to see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to be placed in the previously established Building Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund. The current fund as of June 30 is $140,235.07. I will take a motion to recommend. Motion by Sherry, second by Sarah. Oh, we'll give Jeremy the second on that one because he jumped in.
Oh, sorry.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Jeremy,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
and Jim, yes. Article 7, to see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $85,000 to be added to the building maintenance capital reserve previously established. The sum to come from the June 30th unreserved fund balance. No amount to be raised from additional taxation. So that's adding the word additional there as well. The balance is the same as the one before, which is $140,235.07. Take a motion to recommend. Motion by Sarah, second by Ed. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Jeremy,
Aye.
Sarah,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
and Jim, yes. Excuse me. Article 8, to see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to be placed in the previously established Madison Corner Schoolhouse Capital Reserve Fund. The current balance is $25,000. I will take a motion to recommend. Motion by Sherry, second by Ed. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Jeremy?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Okay, that was a shaky yes.
Yep.
Sherry?
Yes.
Ed?
Yep.
And Jim, yes. And I just want to make a comment on that I understand it's putting money into the Madison Corner Schoolhouse that's out front here. Last year, we had a warrant article for $25,000 for that as well. That $25,000 is still in the account. The Madison Corner Schoolhouse has a committee that has been meeting. There is going to be a report from the Schoolhouse Committee in the annual report. So that, again, should be out this week, which gives a little bit more as to where we're at with it. But I know they're making some steam to move forward there. But the town last year also had a warrant to either tell the board to dispose of the property or fix it. So we own the property here. It's on our property. We own the building. The town has kind of made allusion to the fact that they want us to make it better. So we're moving forward with that, and that's why I am in favor there. Article 9, do we...
I don't think you have to. Budget committee does not.
So the budget committee does not because it's not financially binding, but...
Do we have to place a recommendation on it?
We don't.
I don't
Thoughts?
feel comfortable doing that yet. I don't think.
I have personal thoughts, but I don't know
Right,
if, as
I
a
don't-
board,
yeah,
I should
I
vote on
agree.
it one way or the other.
I agree
It's a
with that.
board article, so you.
Right.
I don't,
That's the only.
The board did
reason-
put it on.
The board put it on.
put it on, so I don't want to put the board in a, compromising position, but that would, if it's a board-sponsored article, I think it's gonna hurt from the vote.
Okay. I will take a motion so Article 9 is to rescind the provisions of our RSA 4013, known as SB2, as adopted by the Madison School District on March 9th, 2002, so that the official ballot will no longer be used for voting on all questions, but only for the election of officers and certain other questions for which the official ballot is required by law. 3/5 majority ballot vote required. We'll take a motion to recommend. Motion by Ed, second. I will second it to put it on the floor. Discussion.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question about this.
Mhm.
Just being on this committee now and the rec committee, it seems that a lot of people don't show up until budget time. Like, the seats are empty, all of the other meetings. Does this mean that potentially 20 people could show up and decide the fate of the budget at
Yep.
that time.
Correct.
Yep, good or bad.
Yes, and it's a good or bad, and it's also, there's been a lot of discussion over the years of when people go to the ballot, they're not as informed as people who are physically sitting in the room. You know, so when you sit in that room and discuss and make those decisions, and I'm not saying that all people who go to the ballot box aren't informed or educated, but a lot of people show up and just vote. So there's give and take to it, I think, either way. We as Madison typically get a good amount more voters turn out at the ballot than the other two towns in SAU 13. But year after year, we've had this conversation, so that's why I brought it forward. I am in favor of repealing and going back to town meeting style.
Okay, so in the beginning, you answered my original question was,
Okay.
so yeah,
Okay. So I've got one comment.
So I know Tamworth does it this way with this freedom.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're the only town that doesn't.
We are the only town in SAU 13 that does it the way we do it now, and the town they are town meeting, not SB2. Okay.
It is
So
not required.
Do you want to read the pros and cons?
Non-monetary, not required.
what's that?
Non-monetary, not required.
no,
Of either the
I
school
think
board
this
or
would be
the
good.
Okay.
budget committee.
So we don't have to.
We don't have to.
Okay, perfect.
If you don't feel comfortable doing that,
You can, doing so.
you can, or you don't have to, or you can abstain from the vote. Yes.
I would like to say that I'm in favor of it as a voter, personally. Not as a school board member, but as a person.
I agree
That
with
you can
that.
come out and say,
Right.
to Sherry's point, we
I
need
don't-
a new gym floor.
Right. I
Here's-
don't think
I would
that
like
we
to
should
vote in
have a
$70,000 for a
say
gym floor
on
at the
that,
school
be
meeting.
influenced
So this
by
is
that.
just me.
Okay.
That's it.
I
Not
agree.
as a school board.
All right.
I agree.
So do we want to vote on this? Do we want to recommend or not recommend, or do we want to leave no recommendation by the board on here?
I wouldn't put a recommendation on it.
I
Okay.
agree with that.
Jeremy, you okay not putting a recommendation or non-recommendation on this? So Heather reading that we do not have to put any
Either way, so.
stamp of approval or disapproval on this one.
Thank you, Heather.
Okay, well, as a board member, I would say that we don't have to put a recommendation, we don't.
Okay,
But as a taxpayer, I would recommend it.
okay. All right. So
Thank you.
then I will take I had a motion on the floor.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Withdraw his motion, and I will second that. So that motion is off the floor. We're not going to put,
Can make a motion not to vote.
thank you. Go for it. Motion not to vote.
Motion Just to,
Second by Sherry. Any other discussion on a motion not to vote on this article?
No.
nope.
Seeing none. Jeremy? In favor?
Yes.
Sarah?
All in favor?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Thanks, guys.
All right. So we have done that.
Last one, motion adjourned?
Not yet.
Oh.
Sherry.
Whoa, she got you. You almost had it. All right. Did you have something to add?
I would just, because there's enough people here and the book isn't done yet, but would like to say that the book on the back has this great thank you in recognition of this spring will be the 50th play for Mrs. Flanagan, so I just thought it was She's really regretting giving me the list now, but.
Oh, is that all the?
So these are all the plays that she has done, will do, so the spring musical will be the 50th, so.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now you can.
Yes.
Hi, Donna Bagu again. I'd like to give a heartfelt thank you to this board and everyone in this room for thoughtful, insightful conversation. And there's no doubt in my mind, everyone here wants the best education for the Madison children.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Donna.
Much appreciated.
Come on.
Ed?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Second by Sarah. We are all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're out 8:19. Jeremy, thank you.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you in person.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Janet. All right, I gotta go. There's a baby at my house.